The summary of The Story Factor, brought to you by Click-Through College. The Story Factor: Inspiration, Influence, and Persuasion Through the Art of Storytelling, by Annette Simmons, is a compelling exploration of how stories can shape perception, create connection, and bring about change. Introduction. The introduction sets the stage for understanding the power of storytelling. Simmons emphasizes that storytelling is the world's oldest form of teaching, used throughout history to share knowledge, instill moral values, and create a sense of community. She explains how stories can inspire, influence, and persuade more effectively than facts or logical arguments because they connect with listeners on an emotional level. Story speaks to the heart. In the opening chapter, Simmons focuses on how stories connect with people on an emotional level, far beyond what facts and data can achieve. She suggests that emotions form the heart of human motivation and our actions often hinge more on what we feel than what we objectively know. She discusses how stories have the power to make listeners feel a broad range of emotions, such as joy, sorrow, fear, hope, and more. By tapping into emotions, stories are able to bypass the intellectual filters we often apply to data-driven presentations, and instead reach directly into our hearts, where our deepest convictions lie. Simmons also emphasizes that authenticity is the key to emotionally resonant storytelling. Stories that are real and come from personal experiences have a unique ability to connect with people, because they convey shared human experiences and vulnerabilities. The 6 stories you need to know how to tell. Chapter 2 introduces 6 types of stories that, according to Simmons, everyone should be capable of telling. These categories are comprehensive and can be utilized in different scenarios and for various purposes. The first type is, who I am, stories, which communicate our identities and life experiences. Why I am here. Stories articulate our motivations and reasons for being in a particular place or situation. The vision story paints a vivid picture of an ambitious but achievable future, intended to inspire and motivate. Teaching stories use narratives to pass on knowledge or illustrate a principle. Values in action stories demonstrate what we truly value through narratives of actions taken, rather than mere words spoken. Lastly, I know what you are thinking. Stories anticipate and address listeners' doubts or objections. Each of these stories holds a unique power to connect, persuade, and inspire, when told correctly. Finding stories. In this chapter, Simmons delves into how we can find effective stories to tell. The main premise is that everyone, irrespective of their background or life experiences, has a wealth of stories to tell. She guides the reader on how to dig deep into their own experiences, to identify moments that can be transformed into powerful narratives. From personal trials to moments of triumph, life offers an abundance of raw material for storytelling. She emphasizes that extraordinary stories often lie hidden in what we might consider ordinary experiences. Simmons also provides a framework to help readers understand and appreciate the nuances of their experiences and articulate them in a way that makes them universally relatable and engaging. Storytelling is interactive. Simmons explores the interactive essence of storytelling in the 4th chapter. She highlights that storytelling is not a one-way street. It's not just about the story and its teller, but also about the listeners, their reactions, their interpretations, and the meaning they derive from the story. This interactive nature of storytelling fosters a sense of community and shared understanding. It allows space for listeners to insert their own experiences into the story, thereby deepening their connection to it. The key here, Simmons suggests, is understanding and respecting this co-creative process. By inviting listeners to become active participants in the storytelling process, one can establish a deeper, more personal connection with them. Story listening. In Chapter 5, Simmons shifts the spotlight from storytelling to story listening. She establishes story listening as an essential counterpart to storytelling, underlining the necessity of a receptive audience in successful communication. Story listening is more than just hearing the words being spoken. It is about fully engaging in the narrative and seeking to understand the underlying emotions, motivations, and values that the story communicates. Simmons asserts that effective story listening requires empathy, openness, and presence. Empathy allows us to connect with the emotions of the storyteller, fostering a deeper understanding of their perspective. Openness entails suspending judgment and being receptive to new ideas, even if they challenge our existing beliefs. Presence is about giving our full attention to the storyteller, making them feel heard, valued, and respected. She further explains that listening to other stories can be a source of learning and inspiration. It broadens our worldview, deepens our understanding of human experiences, and may even inspire us to share our own stories. By embracing the art of story listening, we foster stronger connections and richer conversations. Storytelling as a leadership skill. Chapter 6 identifies storytelling as a crucial leadership skill. Simmons emphasizes that storytelling is much more than a method of conveying information. It's a tool for shaping perceptions, influencing behavior, and building relationships. Good leaders, she argues, are often good storytellers. Leaders can use stories to articulate their vision, providing a vivid, compelling picture of the future that motivates and inspires their team. Stories can also be used to communicate values, demonstrating through narrative examples what the leader stands for, and what kind of behavior is expected and valued within the team. Simmons offers practical advice on how leaders can develop their storytelling skills, including tips on crafting engaging narratives, understanding the audience, and delivering stories effectively. Importantly, she underscores the necessity of authenticity in leadership storytelling. Stories must be true, and they must align with the leader's actions. Storytelling to navigate change. Chapter 7 explores the role of storytelling in managing change. Change, whether personal or organizational, often triggers resistance and fear. Simmons suggests that stories can be a potent tool to help people understand the reasons for change, visualize the benefits, and feel more invested in the process. She outlines how stories can be used to convey complex change initiatives in a relatable, understandable way. By making abstract changes tangible through narratives, leaders can help individuals see what the future might look like, reduce uncertainty, and gain their commitment. Simmons emphasizes that to effectively use storytelling in change management, one must craft narratives that speak to the audience's fears, hopes, and concerns. The stories should offer a positive vision of the future, while also acknowledging the challenges of the transition. Overcoming obstacles to storytelling. Chapter 8 addresses the common challenges and obstacles to effective storytelling. Fear of public speaking, difficulty in finding the right story, and concerns about authenticity are some of the issues that Simmons discusses. She provides guidance on overcoming these challenges. For instance, she encourages practicing storytelling in safe, low-stakes environments to build confidence and skill. She suggests methods to identify and craft compelling stories from personal experiences, and emphasizes that sincerity is key to authentic storytelling. Most importantly, Simmons discusses the ethical dimension of storytelling. She warns against using stories to manipulate or deceive, stressing that the power of storytelling comes with a responsibility to respect the truth and the audience's trust. She promotes a kind of storytelling that is truthful, ethical, and aimed at fostering understanding and connection, rather than simply winning arguments or gaining advantage. Chapter 9: How to Tell a Story. In the 9th chapter, Simmons dives deeper into the mechanics of storytelling. She outlines the core elements of a compelling narrative: characters that listeners can relate to, a conflict or challenge that creates tension, and a resolution that delivers a satisfying ending or offers an important lesson. Simmons suggests that the key to an engaging story is to make the audience care about the characters. This can be done by making the characters relatable and human, with strengths, flaws, and desires that resonate with the listeners. The conflict in the story should be one that engages the audience's interest, presenting a problem or challenge that the characters need to overcome. The resolution of the story provides closure and leaves the audience with the key message or lesson of the narrative. A good resolution doesn't necessarily mean a happy ending. It could be a moment of insight, a critical decision, or a clear demonstration of the story's underlying theme. Simmons also stresses the importance of using vivid, sensory language to immerse the audience in the story. Details about the setting, the characters' actions, and their emotional responses can make the narrative more engaging and memorable. She also offers advice on non-verbal communication, explaining how tone of voice, body language, and pacing can enhance storytelling. Stories for influence. In the final chapter, Simmons hones in on the power of stories to persuade and influence. She posits that stories are an effective tool for influence because they engage the listener on both intellectual and emotional levels. Facts can convince the mind, but stories can move the heart. She advises that to craft an influential story, one must first understand the audience. What are their concerns, values, and desires? What kind of story would resonate with them? The answer to these questions can guide the crafting of a narrative that will truly connect with the listeners and influence their attitudes or behavior. Simmons provides several examples of influential stories and offers practical tips for crafting them. She discusses techniques for making the story relatable and emotionally engaging, such as using familiar settings or situations, creating empathetic characters, and building up to a meaningful resolution. Throughout the chapter, Simmons emphasizes the ethical responsibility that comes with storytelling for influence. She encourages the use of stories to foster understanding, inspire positive action, and promote shared values, rather than for manipulation or coercion. She concludes by reiterating that storytelling, when done responsibly and effectively, can be a powerful force for positive change. In the conclusion, Simmons revisits the power of storytelling. She emphasizes its role in building connections, fostering understanding, and inspiring change. Stories are more than just a communication tool. They're a way to navigate the complexities of life and make sense of our experiences. In summary, the story factor illuminates the art and power of storytelling, offering valuable insights and practical advice for anyone seeking to harness this ancient skill. From leadership and change management to interpersonal communication and personal growth, Simmons convincingly argues that storytelling is a critical competency in our increasingly interconnected and complex world. The summary of The Story Factor by Click-Through College.